We start this broadcast with a big breaking news story. US President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are beginning a quarantine process as they await their coronavirus test results. This as Donald Trump's top advisor, Hope Hicks, has tested positive for COVID-19. Hicks traveled with Donald Trump on board Air Force One on Tuesday to the first presidential debate in Cleveland and to a rally in Minnesota on Wednesday. Donald Trump tweeted that he just went for a test and is awaiting results for coronavirus after close aide Hope Hicks, who traveled on Marine One and AF1, tested positive. So this is big news coming out of America. US President Donald Trump, one of the most powerful men in the world, has gone into quarantine, and this news comes just barely a month ahead of the US elections. Now remember, Donald Trump participated in the first presidential debate just a few days back, where he took on Joe Biden, his Democratic rival, on several key issues plaguing the country. While the jury is still out on who actually came out on top, this is now the main focus as far as all Americans are concerned, because Donald Trump has gone into quarantine. Now, the most important thing here is whether Donald Trump actually himself tests positive for coronavirus or not, because the second presidential debate is on the 15th of this month, just a few days to go for the second debate. It is crucial for Donald Trump and Joe Biden. But if Donald Trump tests positive, then it is likely that he will have to quarantine for at least 14 days, as is the CDC guideline, and thus he will likely miss the second presidential debate and a couple of key rallies leading up to that second presidential debate. But we will once again remind our viewers that Donald Trump's test results are still awaited, and so are the test results of First Lady Melania Trump. But what does this mean for the US administration and the US leadership just ahead of the presidential election that is in early November? Because if Donald Trump and Vice President Pence both test positive, then who will lead the country leading up to the elections? A lot of questions coming out of America. We will get you a live update as well. Stay with us on this broadcast. Now, this news of Trump testing positive also comes after a Cornell University study traced Donald Trump as the root of all COVID-19 related misinformation. The study concluded US President as the single largest driver of misinformation during this pandemic. The findings of the study were published on Thursday, which identified 11 widespread misinformation or conspiracy theories subtopics. Media mentions of President Trump made up by far the largest share of what the World Health Organization has termed as infodemic. In March, Trump declared anti-malaria drug hydroxychloroquine a game changer, and in April he suggested during a White House briefing that an injection inside the human body with a disinfectant such as bleach could combat the virus. On the 23rd of April, Trump floated the idea of using ultraviolet light to kill COVID-19. And on the 24th of April, there were more than 30,000 articles in the miracle cures category, which was roughly a 300% spike. The study has determined that Trump drove increases in such search results. According to the Cornell study, the most prevalent topic of misinformation was miracle cures, which accounted for more misinformation than the other 10 topics combined. Jagruti Dave is now joining us from Washington, D.C. on this big breaking news this morning, as Donald Trump himself, the President of America, has begun the quarantine process. Jagruti, what's the latest you're picking up? Where is President Trump at the moment?
So President Trump has just tweeted that he and the First Lady are awaiting their test results and that they will begin the quarantine process. Of course, this whole thing the story was broken by Bloomberg when they broke the news that Hope Hicks, top Trump aide, had tested positive for COVID-19. As you said, she had been traveling with the president extensively this week to rallies, and it was after a rally in Minnesota on Wednesday that Bloomberg reported reported that she had been quarantined on Air Force One. Now, the White House had issued a statement where they didn't name Hope Hicks, but they said that the president takes the health and safety of himself and everyone who works at the White House, who works in support of him and the American people, very seriously. And it was when President Trump did an interview on Fox News later where he confirmed that Hope Hicks had indeed tested positive for COVID-19. He said that, you know, he is very close to Hope Hicks. She's one of his trusted advisors. And he then tweeted that he and the First Lady would begin the quarantine process as they awaited their test results.
Jagruti, stay with us. In fact, we are getting a reaction from Donald Trump himself. We'll play that out for our viewers.
Did test positive. I just heard about this. She tested positive. She's a hard worker. A lot of masks. She wears masks a lot, but she tested positive. And I just went out with a test. I'll see what, because we spent a lot of time, and the First Lady just went out with a test also. So whether we quarantine or whether we have it, I don't know. It's very hard when you're with soldiers, when you're with airmen, you're with the Marines, and and the police officers. I'm with them so much. And when they come over to you, it's very hard to say, stay back, stay back. It's a tough kind of a situation. It's a terrible thing. So I just went for a test, and we'll see what happens. I mean, who knows? But you know Hope very well. She's fantastic, and she's done a great job. But it's very, very hard when you are with people from the military or for law enforcement, and they come over to you, and they want to hug you, and they want to kiss you because we really have done a good job for them. And you get close, and things happen. I was surprised to hear with Hope, but she's a very warm person with them, and she knows there's a risk, but she's young. And I just went out for a test. They just do it. It'll come back later, I guess. And the First Lady also, because we spend a lot of time with Hope and others. So we'll see what happens. But
where are we with therapeutics and with the vaccine in your view?
You have to treat our people great. You can't just say, stay away, stay away. They come up to you. There's such love with what we've done for them, and there's such love, and you have to treat our people great. So we'll have to see. I mean, I'll get my test back either tonight or tomorrow morning, but I spent a lot of time with Hope, and so does the First Lady, and she's tremendous. I was a little surprised, but she's a very warm person. She has a hard time when soldiers and law enforcement comes up to her,
There we just heard U.S. President Donald Trump himself confirming that one of his closest advisors, Hope Hicks, has tested positive for the coronavirus, and Donald Trump has gotten his test done as well. Jagruti Dave continues to be with us. She's live from Washington, D.C. Jagruti, we just heard President Trump saying that you have to treat your people right. They have done a good job. They want to come and hug you. So clearly the social distancing guidelines that had been issued may not have been followed to the letter, isn't it, by the Trump camp? Meanwhile, I want to ask you, what are the CDC guidelines for anyone who has been exposed to someone who has tested positive? If I'm not mistaken, the guidelines suggest a 14-day quarantine period for anyone who's been exposed to someone who's tested positive. This means that Donald Trump will not only miss the second presidential debate if he follows those guidelines, but also several key rallies in several swing states as well.
Well, that is exactly what the questions that many people are asking. What does the president going into quarantine mean for that October the 15th debate, the second debate in Miami? I mean, there were already questions about the debates going ahead after that chaotic first debate in Cleveland, which the Debates Commission has said that they are going to look at the rules again and potentially change the format to ensure that that sort of thing didn't happen again. Some added structure needed based on what they saw in that debate on Tuesday in Cleveland. So there are questions as to, whether they were going ahead anyway. But now this adds further questions, given the president saying that he and his wife, the First Lady Melania Trump, are beginning the quarantine process. I mean, interestingly, the president's schedule was released a little after Hope Hicks, the news that Hope Hicks had been tested positive and that she had been in the vicinity of the president. And his schedule looked pretty busy for the next day. So again, what does that mean for all those events events and, as you say, all those rallies that the president had planned, clearly with social distancing and the need for quarantining, he wouldn't be able to do those. But, you know, the spotlight is in fact back on the president and his response to the coronavirus. The fact that his administration has been not as stringent about mask wearing as the CDC guidelines suggest. So lots of complications there going forward.
Absolutely. It's a tough time ahead for US administration, isn't it, Jagruti? Meanwhile, you know, Jagruti, certain medical experts have suggested, in fact, Dr. Jonathan Riener has suggested that Nancy Pelosi should be in isolation, because if Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence both end up testing positive, then it'll fall on Nancy Pelosi as the speaker to lead the nation leading up to the elections, isn't it?
Yes, so that is, in terms of the chain of command, that is exactly the right, in that Nancy Pelosi is, if the president is not able to lead the country, if the vice president is not able to lead the country, the House Speaker takes on that role, and that is Nancy Pelosi. I think everyone is waiting on those test results that are due. As the president said, they'll be arriving either tonight or tomorrow morning, Eastern time, and lots of questions. You know, this is a developing story, lots of questions to be asked about what this means for you know, the president and his campaign going forward, and of course, you know, as well as campaigning, what this means for the government and the work of government. But as I say, a developing story, a lot riding on those test results that the president is awaiting.
One final question, Jagruti. By when can we expect Donald Trump's test results?
Well, as he said, there will be either in a few hours, so that tonight Eastern time, or in the morning. You know, it's the president's test results, so they are going to be done very, very quickly. And you know, this is clearly an urgent case, because Hope Hicks, as the president was saying, you know, they are very. He and the First Lady are close to Hope Hicks. She is a trusted advisor. She was brought back into the White House earlier this year as the president's counsel. She had previously in 2017 served as the communications director for the White House. She then went away and worked for Fox News, and then, as I say, comes back, brought back into the White House. She is considered, according to some, as one of the very few people who can persuade Donald Trump, the president, to change his views on issues. So clearly a close and trusted advisor, close to the president, and she's been seen traveling with him, in proximity to him. So, you know, this is clearly they knew that once that it was confirmed that she had tested positive, the president and First Lady needed to be tested, and obviously the contact tracing has been happening, and so anyone who has been in the vicinity of Hope Hicks is also clearly going to be undergoing testing as well, just to try to contain it. But yes, a lot riding on while we wait to find out what those test results are for the president and the First Lady.
Jagruti Dave, thank you so much for joining us. As this is a big breaking news coming out of America. US President himself, Donald Trump, has gone into quarantine. One of his closest advisors has tested positive for coronavirus.